In previous episodes, we have talked about matrices, but we haven't really explored them. Matrices are the backbone of W4 build. They define how your project gets built, and in this video, we'll dive deep and show you exactly what matrices can do, how to unlock their full power for your builds. A matrix is a place where you configure how your project, your game, or Godot is going to be built. For example, the Git URL, the name of the files that is going to be produced, or you can even add environments. Think of a matrix like a group of builds that share a common configuration. A simple example is configuring Godot for multiple platforms. For example, you want to build the Linux editor for Linux 64 bits. That's one build. Or the export templates for macOS Universal. That's another build. Let's start creating a Godot matrix. First, you go to projects and search for the Godot fork or your project that has the Godot code and click the Add Matrix button. In here, you have to confirm that this is a Godot repository and click Confirm. This will create a matrix for that project. Let's understand what we need to do. When you want to compile Godot, you need to create editor and export templates. The export templates will work like a predefined package for different platforms. Say you want to build your game for Linux 64 bits, so that's an export template. Or for Windows 32 bits, that's another export templates. In the homepage of the matrix, you have the basic stuff. But here, let's explore a few more options. In the cog button, there is a window that appears. And here is the matrix name, the Git branch that is going to use. Here, the last pieces are the most important. Godot uses for the build system scons. So here is where you add additional scons flags. So for example, you want to build Godot for production, you type production equal yes. You can find all the documentation of scons variables in Godot documentation. And that's it. This is where you configure the common configuration among all the builds. Now let's add other builds. So say for example, we need to build the Linux editor for 64 bits. You just click here. Let's add the macOS editor universal. Let's add some export templates because we need them to build our project. So let's add the Linux template releases, the Windows template releases, and the web template releases. So in here, we just added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 builds. When we build this matrix, 5 builds will be triggered, right? For now, let's build it manually. To build it manually, we just, in here, we click the rocket icon and click and trigger. That will start all the builds required for this matrix. You can also see in the matrix events that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 builds has been queued. We have to wait a couple of minutes because Godot compilation takes some time to complete. While your builds are in progress, you can check what's going on. You can see the log. So for example, let's go into the Godot matrix that are running. We can see that there is 5 builds going on. One of them has completed, but let's explore the ones that are still compiling. So for example, the Linux editor. Let's see the Linux editor. In here, we can call it the view build page. You can see all of the steps that W4 build is doing. And in here, you can also see all the logs of the compilation. So say, for example, one of your builds has run into an error. You can come and download the logs for you to share it with your team. Hey, check this out. Something is happening. You can also see the steps that has completed. So for example, you can come and see the clone repository. You can see all the information from the repository that is being called. Before we start building a matrix game, let's first understand a little bit better how Godot exports its games. Say you have a project, you go to project and export. This will open a window where you can see all the presets that you have configured. So for example, this project has an Android, a Linux, web, a Windows, desktop, and a macOS. Each one of these presets will be a build in the matrix of W for build. Each one will be identified by its name. So for example, let's see the Linux one. This one, the name is Linux X11. When we are going to configure the game matrix, we need to, each one of the builds will be identified by the preset name. And that's how Godot manages to export its games. Let's build our game matrix. We go to projects and search for your Godot project and click the add matrix button. In here, we have to confirm which type of project this is. This is a game, so we click game. This also adds some of the default values. So for example, the main branch and the Git repository, and we click confirm. This will create a matrix that we will configure our game how to work. So remember that clicking this cog icon, we will configure the common configuration for the matrix. In the first part, we're going to see the matrix names, and also this field will tell how the files that are created are named. So let's give it a name. So Godot test. After that, in case your project is not in the root of the repository, you type here the project path. This is the setting where you are going to configure if it's release, if you are planning to release your game, or it's a debug. This also depends on which type of export templates you're using. If you're using a custom compilation of Godot, you will need to compile the release templates or the debug templates. But let's keep it release. In here is probably the most important part, because we're going to tell all the builds which version of Godot we're going to use. W for build has several versions available that you can choose from. The custom ones are the ones that you compiled inside W for build. So if you remember a couple of minutes ago, we compiled Godot, so it should be here. There is also the official stable ones, the official Godot releases. In this case, we have available the 4.4.1 stable and 4.4 stable. But we're going to choose the custom one that we just compiled. So add Godot. In this section, if you're not submitting the export presets file into the Git repository, you will add it here. Or if you are also adding, for example, a PCK encryption and you are not submitting, which you shouldn't be submitting, the export credentials CFG file, you should also put it here. These are all the common configurations that we're going to use for now. We click save. Remember, this is the common configuration. Now, we are going to add jobs or build for this matrix. In here, we click add job. This game, you saw a few minutes ago that it has several export presets, Windows, Linux, and macOS. Let's add first the macOS export presets name. It will also give us a default name, but you can change it, but let's keep it like here. The file name is this one. So when the new game is built, the zip file that contains your game inside will have this name. Click save. Let's add another one. Let's add the Windows desktop. Windows desktop. Again, the name of the zip file will have this. And finally, let's add the Linux. X11. The preset names that you configure in Godot have to match exactly in W for build. And that's it. You just configure your game matrix for several platforms that can be built at the same time. So let's build it. Again, we click the rocket icon and click trigger. After we click build, it should have queued 3 builds, one for macOS, another one for Windows, and Linux. This should take much less time than Godot. It should take around 2 or 3 minutes. Of course, it depends on the size of your assets and everything. But as you can see, they all just started. And that is everything. After a few clicks, you just compile Godot for multiple platforms and exported your games to multiple platforms. No need to write code, no need to configure anything else. If you go to the artifacts page, you will find all the artifacts that were generated by any pipeline that has completed. So for example, in this case, you can see the macOS, you can order by date. These are the two that just completed. So this is the game for Linux, this is the game for Windows. And also here you can see all the Godot binaries that have been created. The Linux editor, the macOS editor, and the export templates. Additionally, you can find the Godot cache files. Subsequent compilations of Godot will be faster because they will be using the cache that has some of the compilation files. And that is everything. We will be very excited to see what you are building with Dolly for Build.